Hi everybody, welcome back to Sunshine Soap and Candle Company. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the last holiday or Christmas themed project that I have lined up for you for this holiday season of 2022. If you're a soap maker, you know that it's getting too late to make any type of cold processed soap that will be ready to gift out around Christmas time because cold processed soap needs 4 weeks to cure. So if you're in a pinch to make something that's really impressive and beautiful and smells great and works great, this is the project for you. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you how to make a layered melt and pour soap that looks exactly like old-fashioned ribbon candy. Now, I was inspired to make this soap after I ordered this fragrance oil called Twigs and Berries by Nature's Garden, and it smells to me exactly like old-fashioned ribbon candy, which we tend to have around our house at the Christmas season every year. I'm also going to be giving you a full visual step-by-step process and tutorial of how to put together this amazing little soap project, and I'll be going over the amounts, and I'll be listing the amounts in the description box below so you can replicate this project if you like. If you would like the full written recipe along with a full written detailed step-by-step tutorial, I'm going to be putting that on my Patreon campaign this week. So it's a great way to have everything in one place. It's going to be a downloadable PDF with the written instructions step-by-step tutorial along with links to where you can purchase everything that you need for this project. If you haven't checked out my Patreon campaign yet, I'm going to go ahead and place the link in the description box for you. I really hope that you'll check it out. There's a ton to take advantage of over there. There's 3.5 years of archived recipes. You can access all of them at the $5 level. I publish weekly, sometimes twice weekly, recipes and tutorials. Along with that $5 tier, there are 4 other tiers for you to take a look at and take advantage of if you like, each with their own unique benefits. We offer things like live monthly hangouts, live classes, coupon codes to my favorite suppliers, gift packages, and so much more. It's a great way to connect with me, and it's a great way to connect with other makers. I really hope you'll consider joining us. All right, let's make some ribbon candy soap. So before we get started, I just wanted to share this mold with you. So this is the most important thing you're gonna need to make your soap look exactly like ribbon candy. This is a silicone ribbon candy shaped mold. Now, if you wanna get the best and most authentic looking food, candy, fruit type embeds, I suggest you visit vanulay.com. This is where I got this. Sometimes the molds can be a little bit on the pricey side, however, they have never disappointed. They're high quality and they're always super authentic looking. So I purchased this, it's got 4 slats. The soaps themselves are right around 4 ounces a piece when they come out, so this is a good size soap. So this is the mold we're gonna be using today to create the beautiful ribbon candy soap. So the first thing we need to do is go ahead and chop up all the soap that we're going to need for this project. Now, we need a total of 460 grams of soap. So I am using a melt and pour soap base. This is the Crystal Soap Base by Stevenson. It's like my favorite melt and pour base these days. It retains color really well and it's a nice quality. It has good lather and it does stay pretty clear. The only thing that really kind of affects the color are fragrances, and then of course if you add color to your soap. So we're just going to go ahead and chop this up. I'm going to weigh out 460 grams. All right, now that all the soap has been chopped up, it's time to go ahead and melt down the first layer of this soap. So that means we need to account for all 4 of these cavities when we melt down the first layer. So we're going to be melting down a total of 140 grams, and then that will be 35 grams in each cavity. So I'm going to show you how we do that now. So we're just going to go ahead and pop this on the scale. This is a little glass beaker, and I'm just going to throw in 140 grams of this Crystal Melt and Pour soap. All right, and then I'm going to melt this down in the microwave on 30-second increments, 30 to 15-second increments. It really doesn't take that long to melt down, and in between increments, I'm going to give this a good stir. You just have to be careful that you don't overheat this soap, because if you do, you're going to scorch it and then it'll smell real bad and it won't work properly. So I'll bring you back when this is all melted down. All right, that first layer is all melted down. So the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and add in some color. I am using Force of Nature green. This is by Nurture Soap. It's a neon green. It's nice and bright, and it does look like ribbon candy. So we're going to go ahead and just add in. You can eyeball this part. I've never really weighed it out. We're going to add in maybe like 1/4 teaspoon of the green. I'm going to give that a good stir to combine. Now, when you are adding color into melt and pour soap, a little rubbing alcohol is a good idea. You can spritz the rubbing alcohol in there, and it helps to break up the little mica chunks. You can also disperse your color in alcohol and then pour it in. Okay, so I'm actually going to add just a little bit more color here because it does tend to neutralize a little bit after you pour a small, like a thinner layer, and I just want the color to show. So we're going to go ahead and just get that mixed in really well. And there you go. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and add in some fragrance oil. So for each layer, this whole recipe is going to take 13 grams of fragrance oil. So for each layer, I'm going to be adding in 2.6 grams of fragrance. So I'm just going to get my pipette. I'm adding in the 2.6 grams. And there you go. I'm going to go ahead and give this a mix. Make sure that's nice and combined. Okay, and now it's time to pour our first layer. So I'm actually going to put my mold directly on top of my scale, because this way I can get each layer to be perfectly accurate, which is kind of important in this project actually. So I'm going to go ahead and set this on here. I guess you could eyeball it, but I just want my layers to be really even, and it'll make sense when I pop it out of the mold. You'll see why. And I'm placing a paper towel down here because the mold sort of likes to stick to surfaces like the stainless steel. So we're going to go ahead and just place the paper towel down and make it easy to remove when we need to remove it. Okay, so I'm going to tear out my scale. I'm going to spritz the cavities down with rubbing alcohol, because this way we're ensuring that the melt and pour soap evenly disperses down into those little crevices of the first layer. So we're going to be, again, pouring in 35 grams in each layer. So I'm going to weigh it out, 35 grams. Okay. Then I'm going to tear out my scale and move on to the next one. And then so forth until each layer has 35 grams. All right, then I'm going to take my 99% rubbing alcohol and I'm going to spritz this again on top, just to pop any layer, any bubbles that might be popping up, and to create kind of a skin on top. This will help it to kind of cool and get a skin on top ready for the next layer. So all we have to do now is go ahead and let this set up, then we're going to weigh off the next layer, so I'll bring you back for the next step. All right, so while this is setting up, it's still warm. I'm going to go ahead and weigh off what I need for the next layer. So I'm only going to need 60 grams for the whole 4 cavities. So that's going to be about 15 grams per cavity, we're making a thin layer for the next layer. So if you've ever seen ribbon candy, some layers are thicker than other layers and some are super thin. So we're gonna go ahead and weigh it off on this other scale. You don't have to have 2 scales for this project. You could just let this set up a little bit more, remove it from the scale and weigh it off. But this is the way I'm gonna do it because I do have 2 scales. So I'm weighing off my 60 grams. That's what I'm gonna need total. All right, there's my 60 grams. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I've cleaned out the container that we used for the green. I'm gonna pop this in here. I'm gonna melt this down and I'll bring you back for the next step. All right, so we're all melted down and our next layer is gonna be neon pink. So I'm using the neon pink from Nurture Soap again. I just love their micas. And I'm just gonna be using a little bit. Neon goes a long way with the pink, so I'm just gonna be adding in maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon. Again, this is only 60 grams total. We're gonna give that a good stir. Again, just using the rubbing alcohol to break up those mica chunks. This is 99% rubbing alcohol. I find it to be the best for these types of projects. And you just want to make sure that you're getting it fully distributed. The neons can be a bit tougher to get incorporated in. So again, of course, you could just pre-mix your color in a little bit of rubbing alcohol and then add it to your melted soap. And then we're gonna add in our 2.6 grams of fragrance oil. Now this is set up enough for me now to move it out of the way without compromising the soap. So we're gonna go ahead and place this here. Weigh off our fragrance oil. Mix that all in. Smells so good and so festive. And then we're gonna place this back on the scale. Now again, my soap is still warm. It has set up though. Like I can touch it, no problem, but it's not cold. It's still warm, which is a great time to pour the next layer. It does help it to bond a little bit, but what I find completely necessary to bond the layers is another spritz of rubbing alcohol. You guys have asked me a lot about some other melt and pour videos that I have on here with layers that you ask me why your layers are separating, and that's why. They need the rubbing alcohol to fully bind, and sometimes it could just be the type of soap base that you're using. This one tends to stick together really nicely. So we're gonna go ahead and put in 15 grams on each of these layers. Okay, and if you find that your layer has set up, just go ahead and pop it back in the microwave, which I'm gonna do right now. There we go. And then the rest is gonna go on top of this layer. All right, again, you're just gonna spritz this with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. I'm just going like this to make sure it gets in all the little cavities and crevices here. And we're gonna go ahead and spritz this just to make sure we get all the bubbles popped out. Now, the next steps I'm gonna bring you back for are just the pouring because they're all the same. We're gonna do 2 more 15 gram stripes, and then I'm gonna have another larger one at the end. So I'll bring you back for the pouring phases. All right, so we're ready to pour the red layer right over the top of the neon pink. I'm using Candy Apple Red by Nurture Soap. And again, we're just gonna do 15 grams per layer. Now, if you find that you get to the end of your row and you don't have enough soap, or some of it has stuck to the sides of your container here, and you don't have enough soap to create 15 grams of an even layer across this, you can just melt down a little bit extra soap All right, and in goes our 60 grams of the next layer, which is going to be a gold layer. And I am using Rapunzel mica, also by Nurture Soap. Okay, give this a good spritz. And I'll bring you back for the last layer, which is going to be a white layer. All right, we're getting ready to go ahead and pour that last layer, and it's going to be white. So you don't have to buy white melt and pour soap. You actually can just get a little bit of titanium dioxide. Make sure it's water-soluble titanium dioxide. Disperse it in a little bit of water, and then mix it in, and there you have a white melt and pour soap. So white melt and pour soap is actually a little bit more expensive than clear melt and pour soap, and that's the only difference is the titanium dioxide, which you can add yourself. Okay, so my fragrance is already added in, and we're ready to go ahead and pour that last layer. Again, I've given you the amounts for each. This is going to be the one that takes 35 grams per layer. However, we're on the last layer, so you just kind of, you don't even need to measure it really. You just kind of eyeball it to the top because they're going to go to the top of each cavity here. Also, again, I've given you the amounts, but if you need to add a little bit more soap in to make sure, you know, you're accounting for any loss of soap that's stuck to the sides of your pouring container to make an even layer, you can always just melt down a little bit more soap and add it. So here I'm just topping these off, and then I'm going to give this a good spritz, and then we'll allow a few hours for this to set up completely, and then I'll bring you back when we're ready to unmold it. All right, so these have been setting up now for a few hours, so it's time to go ahead and unmold them. You could leave them in, you know, overnight because they are still a little bit soft, but I just want to show you what they look like. They're so cute. Okay, there's the first one. Isn't that cute? To me, it looks just like ribbon candy. So, so cute. Now this would look really cute just setting at somebody's sink in a soap container, or you could slice it in half if you received it as a gift and just use half of it. Really cute. And there's the last one. All right, I also just wanted to share with you real quick some others that I made in a different pattern a little while back, just to kind of give you a different idea. So this one just has the 4 colors and a thicker white stripe. So if you've ever bought ribbon candies, you'll see that they come in different variations of stripes, different thicknesses and different variations of stripes. So you can get real creative with this project if you like. But there's just another variation for you if you wanted to, you know, just change it up a bit, you totally can. So I thought these would be totally cute packaged up in some sort of corrugated box that looks like the ribbon candy size, and these would be awesome gifts. Oh, just to show you how the edge looks totally authentic right there. That's just what I mean about those Vanille molds. They really are so authentic, no detail is left out. Anyway, that's how you make a beautiful ribbon candy melt and pour soap, and your friends and family are sure to love it. I hope you like this video. If you did, please remember to give this video a thumbs up. Please leave a comment or question below. That really means a lot to me. Share this video with a friend and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. All right, everybody, catch you on the next video. Bye. Keep shining.